Hey you guys, my name is William and I'm a dermatology resident. I had a really fun workout this morning and I'm gonna go shower and then show you guys my skincare and makeup routine before I get on a plane for a wedding. I just showered and what I'm gonna do next is show you my skincare routine. So the first step I'm gonna go in with today is the 6 Peptide Skin Booster by COSRX. This is such a great peptide serum. I've been using this now for over a year and I love using it as my first step. It's very watery and I find that it's just a really good hydrator before I go in with all of my other steps. So I just like to kind of spread that all over my skin. I think too, when I was first using this, I was purchasing it from Yes Style, I want to say. And in the last time I bought this, I had bought it, I think at Costco. I think Costco was selling this. I forget if it was on sale or if it was just regular price, but it was still a really good price at Costco. So I hope they still continue to sell it because I loved it. I love this product. And I'm gonna go especially all the way underneath my eyes, all the way up to the lash line. This is really just gonna help hydrate this area. Next step is going to be the Prequel Half and Half Peptides plus Ceramides Fluid Moisturizer. This product is amazing. You guys see me use it in all the videos I've done so far. Probably I'm going to keep using it until I maybe try some other ones. I tried a few before this one and I will say so far this one has been my holy grail for the past few months now. At least like 6 months. Okay, so going all the way. Like this. Don't forget the neck. And once again, all the way up to that lash line. And on the back of your hands with anything that's left. Next, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna go in with an actual moisturizer, but I will use this Round Lab Birch Juice Moisturizing Sunscreen. It's actually been quite a while since I used this one. This is a brand new bottle I just opened, and I wanna say it's been like at least a year. I love this sunscreen, but there's so many other Korean sunscreens I've been using and loving, and so I think this is a wonderful one. Take a little bit. It took about this much for now. Once again, all the way up to that lash line, as long as you don't have any irritation. I don't remember ever having any irritation with my eyes with this one. And I will say, I do use US sunscreens, especially like right before I work out, if I'm working out in the morning. But these Korean ones are just really hard to beat. Go ahead and tap that all in. Don't forget your lips too. Okay, so next I'm gonna take just a little bit more, you guys. I love my sunscreens. So if you wanna use a lot, the key is to layer them. Don't go in like with the full amount right at the beginning. If I had combined the 2 amounts that I used, I think it would have been just way too much and it'd be much harder for my skin to like absorb it and for it to really like settle down. I think if you use too much product at once, what can happen is that the product, instead of nicely absorbing into your skin and also just kind of melting into your skin and forming that nice barrier, it can just kind of stay a little bit more liquidy. And when that happens, it's just gonna cause everything to slip and slide. I think your sunscreen will slide, your makeup will definitely slide. So, layers. And back of your hand. And also, tap. I do like to just tap it in, especially like for a plane ride where I know it's gonna be really dry in the cabin and there's gonna be a lot of like temperature and environmental changes as I'm going from where I am to the wedding location. So just tap. And then lastly, let's put some on our ears too. And the back of your neck. Okay, all right, you guys. So I'm all done with my skincare routine today. It was just 3 steps, keeping it pretty simple. And now I'm gonna actually be waiting like 10 to 15 minutes before I go into makeup. I know many of us are in a rush. There's a lot of things we need to do throughout our days, but it's really important to ideally take this 15-minute period to do other stuff while your skincare is fully drying down and fully absorbing into the skin. Otherwise, if you go in too quickly, what's gonna happen is that makeup is gonna go on top of this like liquid that is not fully absorbed or fully dry down, and you're gonna be left with a bunch of like liquid layers all blending into each other and just moving and shifting, and that's the last thing you want for long lasting all day makeup. So just go ahead, tap, and then go do something else for like 10 to 15 minutes. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna fold my laundry, I'm gonna blow dry my hair, and so just a lot of things you can do. So hang tight, I'll be right back. Okay, you guys, so my skincare has been drying for about like 10 to 15 minutes, and I was able to fold some laundry, and I'm actually gonna be trying out this new microphone, so hopefully it works and the audio gets picked up. I'm gonna move on now to doing my foundation or my tinted sunscreen. Today I'm gonna be using one of my favorites, the Tower 28 tinted sunscreen. And I just listened to a podcast with the founder of this brand, and I just thought the story behind this brand is so amazing. I love the inclusivity. I love the so many shades it has for tinted sunscreens. I do think that tinted sunscreens need more shades across the board, and I think Tower 28 is one of the brands that are really leading the way in this area. And so let's go ahead and put some on the back of my hand. I'm gonna use about this much today. I already have that Round Lab sunscreen underneath. And then today, just for fun, let's go ahead and try the spatula technique one more time. Still working on this. So normally you guys see me mix my tinted sunscreen with like some sort of milky toner just to thin it out. But today I just want all of it on. Let's do the whole shebang. So, like always, I'm concentrating the product in the middle of my face and working my way out. And then I'm gonna go ahead and use one of these cushion puffs and then go ahead and just blend this all out. Using one of these spatulas or even one of those flat foundation brushes makes blending so fast and so easy because it's already basically like in a nice even layer, and you're really just pushing the product into your skin, giving you some of that longevity and also just removing any of those harsh edges. So all right, go ahead and blend it out with that cushion puff one more time. I will say the shade works almost perfectly for me in the summertime. And in the winter, it is just a touch warm for me in the winter, or a little bit dark actually, I would say, and warm too, slightly, but still really love it. So easy to apply. Forehead next. And I mentioned this in, I think, my last video or the one before that, that I'm still pretty new to this spatula technique in that I haven't really mastered it, I would say, or I'm not even close, versus the flat foundation brush is just so easy to use. So I almost feel like that one is a little bit more beginner friendly. But this one is so much fun. I kind of feel like I'm like icing a cake. And then blend next. Nose is definitely kind of hard to get even layers for me, at least, because of all of the convexities and concavities of the nose. But, you know, great thing about a tinted sunscreen is that it's really sheer. So it's Even if you're not doing it perfectly, it's just so easy to blend it out. Okay, and then I'm going to move on now a little bit here. And on my chin also. Blend this out. And then with whatever's left, I don't really have that much left, but I'm just gonna go ahead and put it down my neck. And you can see I don't really have that much left on the back of my hand. It's kind of hard for me to pick it up. I'm having a hard time like getting enough for my neck. So instead of actually going in with more tinted sunscreen, I'm gonna take a little bit of this half and half now and actually just put like 1 or 2 drops like this into the back of my hand. And I'm gonna mix this milky toner with whatever's left on the back of my hand. And that's gonna allow me to pick up some of that extra pigment that's still there. And I actually think this is a really good technique for somewhere like the neck where maybe you don't want it to be too pigmented. You just want a little bit of that wash of color so that it matches your face. You guys can see I kind of was pressing a little bit hard with my spatula to really try to get that pigment more evenly distributed and just got a little bit red, but that's okay. The number one area where you want to be careful of depositing too much product also is going to be along your jawline, anywhere right above or right below it. That area, if you can see foundation, like a demarcation of it, or even just clear foundation that looks a little bit cakey, that's going to be the area that really, I think, pulls away from that natural look the most. So I am blending foundation on there, but I'm not like putting it directly on there. I'm kind of using whatever's left over from the other areas to spread it out to those. So really less is more. All right, you guys, so done with my foundation. Next, I'm gonna move on to my concealer, and I'm gonna be using one of my favorites, the Tower 28 concealer. It's in shade 5 EP, which is a little bit light for me. I still do sometimes wear this concealer, especially when I go out at night and maybe I just want a little bit more of that contrast on my face in areas that I wanna bring forward. But most of my concealers, I've packed it in my luggage already, so I don't wanna take it out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use this one that I haven't packed. So I have about 2 layers of concealer on the back of my hand. I'm gonna take a fluffy brush today. I know I've been showing you guys that new technique of doing that thin light layer with more of a smaller flat brush, but today, because I just kind of want to do this more quickly, I'm gonna go ahead and use this Sephora airbrush concealer brush that I bought many, many years ago. I just went on the back of my hand, I just tapped into it just a little bit, and then evenly spread it on the brush, and then go into those areas that you want to conceal, pushing that product in for longevity and also to blend. You know, certainly some people will swipe and sometimes I swipe too. Swiping is really helpful for when you want to shear out products. So let's say I deposited way too much concealer in one area. I'm going to start to swipe it a little bit more while still kind of pushing down slightly just to shear it out, but also still push the product onto my skin so that I can get that longevity throughout the day. And I forget how good this Sephora brush is in terms of softness. It just feels so soft on my skin. I've always loved this brush ever since I've had it. And this was one of the first concealer brushes that I ever bought from Sephora. And it's just been a solid one. I haven't tried too many of Sephora's brushes out, so I can't really comment on how good the quality is for all of their brushes, but definitely for this one, top tier. And as you guys can see with my concealer, I'm really not taking it all the way up to the lash line. And I'm especially kind of even avoiding, you know, that muscle right underneath our eye. I'm just kind of avoiding that muscle. because by avoiding it, it kind of gives me a natural contour effect because that area is a little bit darker than this area that I'm adding this concealer to. So it just looks a little bit more natural to me, and also much less creasing. I think right underneath our eyes, there's a lot of fine lines, or I have a lot of fine lines at least. And so those are kind of the first areas I would say that will start to crease for me. So I just kind of avoid it. And then now with whatever's left, let's just go into other areas, kind of like my forehead, center of my nose, here too, and definitely around my nose because I just have so much redness here. Concealer's done. I love this concealer. So easy to use and so natural looking. At this point, let's go ahead and set everything. I'm just gonna go ahead and take a look, make sure that everything's nice and blended. Go in with my cushion puff one more time in any areas that I maybe want to soften the edges, especially in areas where I just applied the concealer. Just wanting to marry and blend those two different colors together so everything looks nice and seamless. Next, we're gonna go ahead and take a nice little fluffy brush and then powder kind of these areas. I'm gonna use the Makeup by Mario, the soft setting, the Surreal Skin Soft Blur Setting Powder in shade 1 Fair Pink, one of my favorites. And if you see here, I just opened the cap and I already have some powder here on the back of the cap. So what I'm gonna do is just actually take my brush, swirl right into this area where there was just a little bit of powder, tap out the excess, go in the palm of my hand, swirl, and tap. Light taps, you don't need to tap too hard. Remember, we just use liquid products, so the harder you tap, the more likely you are to disrupt that liquid underneath, especially because this liquid hasn't been set yet. I just take a little bit more, swirling on the back of my cap, tap off the excess, going into the other side of my face. And here, I think what I like to do is, because I get so oily, I'm just kind of tapping in areas where I know I get really, really oily throughout the day. Little bit more, swirl, tap. Doing very small amounts and going in. If I need more, I'll just take a small amount and go back in. You can always add more, but you don't want to put a lot of powder at once. That's gonna be one of the top 5 ways I would say that you're gonna get a very cakey look. Too much powder looks cakey. That being said, I love powder. Powder makeup was my first introduction to makeup, and I think powder and a fluffy brush feels very much kind of like a magic wand in that you can really just, I think, do such amazing things with this. Even if you're not gonna use any foundation, you're not gonna use any concealer, no eyeshadow, no blush, nothing, I would say powder, with just a small amount of powder, you can get an amazing look. We are all done with our powder. What I want to do next is, I'm going to use a little bit of blush today. A lot of my blushes are packed away, so I'm going to use this House of Her blush I had gotten in like this box that I purchased online several months ago. I haven't used it too much. I tried it once, but it did kind of like break apart a little bit for me like that. So because this is a cream blush, I'm not too familiar with it. What I'm going to do is, for this cream blush, I'm going to take a little bit, go in with my brush. This is a pretty dense brush by Real Techniques, the Expert Face Brush. A Real Techniques 200. This one's really dense. It's really easy to apply too much with this. So what I'm going to do is, after I take it, go on the back of my hand, just tap it in. Make sure it's nice and evenly blended on the back of my hand before I even go in with my face. This is a lot. So I'm going to keep doing it until I get the opacity that I want. Then I'm going to take that and go into the area that I want for blush. So right here. Amazing. Done with the blush for now. One thing I wanted to do before I went in with that blush, but I just forgot, was use this Giorgio Armani bronzer in the shade 90. So I'm just gonna take this bronzer, swirl with my Huda Beauty Glowish Face Airbrush Finish brush. So take this brush, swirl, tap off the excess, and then let's start with my forehead. And then here I'm going to chisel out, tap, and brush. Same thing here, tap, brush. Take a little bit more of that bronzer, swirl, tap off the excess. Light pressure. Like I said, you can always build up, but it's really hard to take away. Okay, take this, go down here. And then I'm gonna do a little bit on my nose, but really like roughly. That's it. I do see that I've created just a little bit of harsh edges with my bronzer on my cheeks. So I'm just gonna go in with this and just kind of try to blur out those edges. Amazing. Ideally, you do want to do your bronzer or your contour before your blush. I think it does kind of help just more with the placement to be more accurate and to give you the most flattering look, I would say. But this is fine. I'm not applying too much, so amazing. We're all done with this step. And we're gonna now move on to eyeshadow. So today, the real reason why I wanted to do my makeup today before going on a plane was because I really wanted to try out this palette by Makeup by Mario. Normally I wouldn't do my makeup this extensively before going on a plane, but this is the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes Nature palette. And just play around with it. I think what I wanna do today is first go in with this brown shade. This one right here, this kind of taupey shade. Tap off the excess. And then lightly just work it into my crease. Oh, that is kind of pigmented. But still so natural. Okay. Okay. Kind of just tapering it out at the edges too. Wow, this is such a good natural color. Wow, I really like that. Next, I'm gonna go in with this brown shade down here. Really just focusing it now at the edge. A little bit more of that brown shade. Next, I'm going to take a clean brush and actually just blend everything, the edges. That is such a good natural look, you guys. Looks a little bit, trying to look in the camera, it looks a little bit kind of strong on the camera, but if you feel like anything looks too strong, one of my tricks too is just take a clean brush like I did and then just blend out the edges. Wow. Okay, really happy with all of that, you guys. So I want to go in with a shimmer. Yes. You could use your finger to put the shimmer in. Just go ahead and take this one down here. And then tap off the excess and just place it towards the center of my eye. That is so light. I'm obsessed. I'm happy with this look. So I'm all done with the eyes. I think what I'm gonna do next is go ahead and fill in my brows. How I'm gonna fill in my brows today is actually I'm gonna use that darkest brown shade that I had used. And then just use that to very roughly, precisely go into my brows. That was way too much. All done. Next, what I'm going to do is now put a little bit of the lip product I'm going to use today. It's this e.l.f. Glow Reviver Lip Oil. It's been a while since I used this, but let's go ahead and try it today. I remember I did really like it before. All right, you guys. So here's the look. Let's go ahead and set this now with our setting sprays. I think which one I want to try today is the Charlotte Tilbury, this Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. First time using this, so let's give it a try. I packed my fan, so let's just kind of use our hands. All right, you guys. So let me go ahead and take these clips out, style my hair, and I'll be right back. Here's the final look for today. One thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and use just a tiny bit more setting powder in just any areas that I really want to mattify. This is usually my last step that I love to do. Just using that same Makeup by Mario powder today as my finishing powder. So pretty. One of the tricks you can do with powder also is any area where you feel like maybe my makeup looks a little bit too strong or it's just the balance is not quite right. You can use your loose setting powder to just lightly go over any of those more pigmented areas. By doing that, you're actually going to tone it down just a smidge. And just like everywhere else, when you use your powder, you want to be very mindful of how much you're using. Don't use too much because then that will lead to that cakey look, but just a tiny bit is going to help just mute things and get you the look that you want as well. Okay, you guys, here's my final look. I had so much fun today doing this makeup look for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And if you like this video, please give it a like, consider subscribing, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.